Very cool. All right, welcome back to Forestry 500, Principles of Research, Introduction to Being a Grad Student, and so on. And your instructor, Logan Park, we are picking up one more student, at least that I'm aware of. So we'll run through the attendance register. We're all adults here. This is graduate school. I'm not like grading you on attendance, but I do need to figure out everybody's name, right? So it takes a little bit of work. All right, let's run through the class list just so I can start associating names with faces and see if I can get there. All right, Sherry, I believe, is not here. Okay. Durga. All right, welcome. Juliana. Welcome, Juliana. Sadie. I'm glad you're here. All right. Kahinde Ojayini. Okay. And Sarah is here. Priyanka is here. All right. Ayush.
He's not here today.
Okay. He mentioned that he was not going to be here today, so that is all right. And Rachel is here. Welcome back, Rachel. Cool. Good deal. Again, this is not figuring into your grade. I'm not sort of spending many calories on this, but it's important that we get to know each other a little bit. Okay. From here, we spent some time on Tuesday, our first class session for the semester, just going through the syllabus and mostly introducing ourselves and our areas of research, or what are very shortly to become our areas of research for those of us in our first semester, and mostly just taking classes so far. Also, in sort of at the tail end of that class session, we got into just a couple of other helpful things to help you get your feet on the ground for the semester and rolling. So I wanted to these are just linked from the front page of the site, but I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes going through these. Hey, Sherry, come on in. Just wanted to go through each of these two documents. We'll go through the template file in a lot of detail over a couple of class sessions coming up. But for here, the other document that we had linked from the course website, the announcement front page of the website, is this Milestones to Graduation checklist. So in terms of the professional practice of being a project manager when you're a researcher or a scientist, doing the administrative and logistical tasks of moving a research project or research effort forward, organizational and institutional efficiency research has shown a lot of even basic safety benefits of having everything out of your brain, so you can't forget it, and on an atomized or chunked down, that is, each of these checklist items is as small of a task as we can make it, in terms of helping us to just understand where we are in the process, not feel intimidated by having to figure out all of the steps of the process, and finally, being able to, over time, see a whole lot of progress and let that be an encouragement to you. So the first couple of pages of this for most of us in the class are going to be already complete, right? So this starts with, before you even enroll as a graduate student at SIU, here in our college, right? We want to have some primary ideas, like why are we going to grad school? What's the primary career goal? And we assume that grad school is a very useful set of a lot of steps and hard work to get you to that eventual career goal. Otherwise, if you're just here for the joy of learning, that's awesome. I'm wired that way as well, but grad school is hard work, as you know. So we want to make sure that it is buying something with what we are spending on it, our time and money and focus and effort, making sure that it is going to give us what we are looking for. So first page or two again, right? You're probably almost 100% done with at least the first page, pre-enrollment, and almost everything on semester one as well. So this is to try and give you guys a chance to understand, okay, when do I start to put together my committee? Like, is that something I'm supposed to have magically done before I even get to campus? Or is this something that I don't even want to think about for the first year because it only matters in my second year. Well, as in many things, the answer is somewhere between those two extremes. So this checklist, download a copy of it. A couple of graduate students in the past have reported a lot of satisfaction with printing this out, even in large format, like a 2x3 foot poster. So a 0.6 by 0.95 meter poster board sheet, and just scratching out each of these as you go. And you see more and more of that starting to be on your done list instead of your to-do list. And that helps you to build momentum and feel like you're making clear progress, whereas, sometimes when we are doing thought work, knowledge creation, instead of, building something out there, like a building or a trail or a road where you can see your progress as you go, this is how you march through and observe your progress. Okay? So, we're not going to spend really any more time on this. I'll try and just remind you guys a few more times throughout the semester to blow the dust off of this, scratch off a few more things that you have done along the way, and also remind you to look ahead to the following semester. So, how many of you guys and gals are in your second semester of the program? Okay, cool. So, right, first couple of pages, probably pretty much already all done or taken care of. Might be a few things here to definitely circle back and take care of, like your committee member form, and so on and so forth. Okay? So enough said about that. The other linked document was this detailed outline format for theses and dissertations, and this is definitely one that you want to download and throw into Microsoft Word instead of previewing in the course website's PDF and document preview pane like we were just looking at. What I've gone and done for you through this is line out all the chapters, the sections common to most everybody's thesis or dissertation within each chapter, and then provided a bunch of tips and tricks, guidance, instructions. All that stuff is in italics. You're going to delete those and replace those with your own content as you go, of course. And then finally, the other key thing that this document already has set up for you is this is set up to the graduate school's template file specification, at least as of last year. As a class, we'll go through and update it to see if they've made any changes to the required template that you've got to put your thesis or dissertation in before you can graduate. They will not sign off on your graduation unless the formatting is approved. The graduate school doesn't care about the content. Your committee and you are responsible for the accuracy, the usefulness, the effectiveness of the content of your research. But the graduate school absolutely cares that there is a exactly 1-inch margin, no more, no less, that the headings are enforced and in order, all of those style things that it's kind of a waste of effort to redo. I've gone ahead and done all of that for you. And what that does is that semantic markup, attaching meaning and machine-readable understanding to each of these headings and subheadings and so forth, allows Microsoft Word to put together things like this very, very handy outline. When your thesis or dissertation grows to hit 75 to 250 pages, with all of your data tables and supplementary data appendices at the back end of it, it'll grow rapidly. You don't have to actually write that many pages, but it may be that long. It can be a huge waste of effort and energy and decision fatigue to scroll through a 150-page document to try and find where you want to put in your next citation or edit the next paragraph or whatever. You're going to be moving around through these a lot, especially after this class when you're putting together your results and discussion sections and copying in graphs, figures, and GIS charts and maps. There's a lot of bouncing around through the document. So use this is called the navigation pane on the left-hand side, or the document map. And you just click on the heading to go immediately to that. So use that. I've got all of the figure object styles. So the actual chart image or the map or whatever that is. That's a figure object. I've got all of the headings set up according to the grad school and typical other template checking needs. It's all just done for you, right? And this way you don't have to do things like generate your table of contents, which is a huge pain in the butt to retype. And so we have this automatically generated and paginated, okay? So I'll teach you to do all of those things in Microsoft Word if you already know how to do them. But this is the kind of thing that will save you literally days of effort at the tail end when you've already got your job, you're just trying to finish up and get out the door. Maybe your student visa is coming up to a deadline and things get pretty pressurized. We don't want you to have to spend a whole lot of time on just this administrivia editing stuff, right? We're meant for more than that. So let this Word document do the heavy lifting for you. It's got the table of contents, the required list of tables, the required list of figures, and for those of you in like ag economics, for example, you'll also have a list of equations. For any of you doing any kind of legally oriented research, there will also be a table of authorities, the case law that you are citing throughout, just like you would cite a journal article for a more regular lab or field-oriented dissertation. Okay? So, all that stuff is here for you. And again, we'll spend a couple of class sessions on figuring out, okay, so I've got this template, this skeleton, this outline, this bulleted list in order and by sort of sequence in the narrative, but how do I put in what I need to? We'll talk about each step of that process, we'll scaffold it and break it down into its chunks or component tasks throughout the semester so that you don't have to scramble and do everything the last week of classes. It's much easier and more sane to break this down and, spend an hour on it every day this semester. And if you do that, it's not hard, it's not particularly stressful either. Okay? Cool. So, everybody, head to the course website if you haven't already, download these 2 Word documents and start using them. Create a local copy, and importantly, I want every one of you, as a formal assignment for this class, to set up some kind of secure, off-device, automated backup. Okay? One of the horror stories we share in this class every time we teach it is the story of the PhD or the doctoral student that went through my program at Virginia Tech a few years before I did. In the Wild West days, before we had things like iCloud or Microsoft Azure, so Microsoft's Windows, backup and file sync service and so forth, her laptop was stolen, and it was the only device that had all of her PhD field data for about 3 years of field work. And everybody was very sorry that it had happened, and there was nothing else to be done. She had to restart her PhD studies and do a new set of a couple of years of field work, right? She's never going to get those years of life back. So we are going to learn from that and learning from other people's successes and failures so that we don't have to blunder through our own successes and failures. That process is called surrogation. And that's going to be very useful for us all throughout the semester. So we'll talk to and about a whole bunch of fellow professional researchers who have figured out a few things. And leaning into what other people have figured out is like the first 1/3 of every research project anyway, right? That's your introduction and lit review. But for the practice of science beyond each content area in each study, we're also going to use that surrogation technique to make sure that we have something like iCloud or Microsoft OneDrive or Carbonite or Box or Dropbox or Mega, any file system backup and sync service that securely and safely scans for any change or addition you make to your research files is automatically taken care of. If you have to remember to do it, it's not going to work. And if the backup is just maybe an automated disk image on that computer, well, when that computer gets rained on, run over by a truck, stolen, just bursts into flame to be mean, whatever, right? That disk image doesn't help you either. So if you have a spare drive on maybe a research lab computer that your backups are going to, not good enough, right? The pipes burst over the graduate student lab on the far side of the breezeway, just sort of in that corner, about every 3 to 5 years. And we've had to scrub out black mold and replace entire labs worth of computers all at once when we get cold weather and the pipes freeze, for example. And so we know things fail. We know this happens. It's on us to be ready to pick up and keep on running at the same speed the next day after a disaster like that, right? So, secure, automated, and off-site backup. Next up, our subsequent assignment to this, making sure we are totally on lock with our backups, is our field or lab or otherwise notebook or logbook. So let's spend just a couple minutes talking about this. That log notebook, that field notebook, needs to be within physical reach of your body pretty much 24/7 for the next 2 years or 3 years if you're doing PhD work, right? This is the receptacle that is going to capture that moment of inspiration, that priceless thought that unlocks your whole project when you've gotten stuck on something. Those thoughts often come when you are in what is called default mode cognition. So when you are sleeping, when you're walking from place to place and not near a lab computer, when you're in the shower. For those of you who are Reddit users, there's a very popular subreddit called Shower Thoughts. And that is absolutely a replicable thing across pretty much all people because our minds are free to work and chew on the problem that you are stuck with, that you are ground to a halt on, that you are not making any progress on when you need to be making progress. We sort of unlock that default mode, as it's called, thinking, when we are not staring at a screen, when we're just looking at the wall in the shower, contemplating why did we go to grad school, this is crazy, it's intense, and so forth. All right, so we want that field notebook to be ready to go into the shower with you. So waterproof paper is a great idea, right? A Write in the Rain notebook or similar. That's just one brand, but there are lots of different folks who produce waterproof paper. Is one brand. And you don't have to impress me by spending a bunch of money on a name brand waterproof notebook. You just gotta have a waterproof notebook. If you're doing anything that is at all field related. Okay? And when you have the choice between the 80-page notebook and the 200-page notebook, get the 200-page notebook. Okay? Show of hands, how many of you guys and gals have a smartphone with a camera? Or any other digital camera. All right, cool. Almost everybody. That's where we want to be. When you complete a page in the notebook, take a clear, well-lit, maybe in the sunlight, picture of that page of the notebook. So when the notebook gets run over by a truck or falls out of the aluminum hull John boat that you are doing your fisheries biology research project in and it sinks to the bottom of the lake and you can't find it, you have a secure, off-site, not automated. You gotta remember to take pictures of each page. But a digital backup of everything that you put into that notebook. We'll talk about what to put in next. But these days, OneDrive photos and photos stored in iCloud through the Apple Photos app, those are automatically scanned, and the text recognition, even on messy field-based handwriting, that handwriting recognition, we've got 30 or 40 years now of handwriting recognition science, optical character recognition, as it's called, to decipher even the craziest chicken scratch scribbles that are almost unreadable by anyone else. Most of the time, we can search through those photos for something that is very important and otherwise hard to find. So you don't have to spend lots of brain power searching through a bunch of photos, incurring decision fatigue. Okay? So, what do we want to put in that field notebook? Every setting, every parameter, every value, every term, every code, for those of you doing qualitative research. So if you have to run a water chemistry analysis machine, for every test that you run, you're not going to remember the settings that you used. But those settings might become pretty important at some point long after you've forgotten what those settings were. So it can be a period of months or even maybe a year sometimes between analyzing something, either in a chemistry machine, bench chemistry setup, or analyzing something with a statistical analysis, and so forth. Lots of different ways to analyze things. Qualitatively, we do analysis through assigning codes and building themes out of those codes, right? So a year goes by, and you don't remember anything you did last week, much less what you did a year ago with specific numeric or qualitative parameters that are fundamentally driving